Hey, good morning, everybody. So glad you're here. I'm Rita Hickman. I'm a body, mind, and shiatsu massage therapist, and I take women out of the knowing about narcissism, and I take them to the point where they can actually deal with it. One of the biggest problems, but it's information based on big theoretical stuff. So, like when I was studying with, when I was doing my shamanic work, one of the things that kept coming up is people would say to me, they'd say, well, there's no manual for transformation. There's no manual for healing. There's no manual for any of that stuff. There are underlying things which you can do, which help you really navigate this stuff. So there is a manual. And so I spent decades really looking for these manuals. Like, what are the patterns? How does everything work? What's effective? What's not effective? So I spent a lot of time not in the information space, but in the body mind space, finding out what actually shuts down your trigger, what actually keeps you from reacting, what actually changes your body so that you can handle being in conflict. One of the problems with being in a relationship, discomfort that you may already have with conflict. And most people do. Most people have a hard time with conflict. And because they have a hard time with conflict, they tend to end up in abusive, dysfunctional, disordered um, relationships with people who have high narcissistic tendencies. And some of the most difficult ones are what we call covert narcissism. Basically, the difference between overt narcissism and covert narcissism is over the room, drawing attention to themselves. And as an actress, I've met plenty of people who were the stars, who were the ones that needed to be up on stage and be publicly admired. But the other side of it are the narcissists who are introverted. The narcissists on television or stage, or in some sort of public broad way, they get their needs met in a relationship with you. They get their needs met in personal relationships with other people. So they're covert because one side of their personality is very easy to get along with. In fact, that's what draws people in, that ability to listen. And a lot of healers can be this way. The reason they can be this way is because you get into healing because you've got distress, some sort of distress, and you want to figure it out, either in your family or within yourself. And as you work on that journey, you still have a lot of conflict. You still have a lot of issues that you're working through. And so on the outside, you're a healer, and on the inside, you're very manipulative. You've got a lot of emotional issues you're dealing with. You are struggling with inner conflict or stomach disorders or headaches or borderline personality disorder. So many people are narcissists, and they aren't the obvious, vision of what a narcissist looks like. And because of that, they can take you by surprise. You will never know sometimes until you're decades into a relationship that you've been dealing with someone with a mental health disorder. You just thought maybe they had bad days or it was your fault because they treated everybody else very, very well, but they treat their closest relationships with all of that hurt and anger and discomfort that they have inside of themselves. And it can be ugly. Oh my gosh, can it be ugly? Ugly as in random verbal abuse, or ugly as in you're so scared you have to hide in a closet. Ugly as in you never quite know if you're supposed to stay or go. You are always walking on eggshells because the covert narcissist is a very private, secret sort of relationship. It's one where it's a lot like childhood abuse in a family. where it's secret. No one's supposed to know about it. No one can get help because it's such a shameful sort of thing in the family. And it doesn't get healed because the secrets stay in the box. They say, stay in the closet. That's one of the most dangerous things about covert narcissism is that you don't really see it coming. It's not coming from someone who is amazing and wonderful and Auntie Mame or, Justin Timberlake or, someone who's on stage getting that admiration and adoration. Instead, it's someone overt who isn't getting it in their outside world, but they try. So they're nice to everybody and they've got high values and good thoughts around things. They tend to be, if they're male, they tend to be very much for women's rights. That's the outside. But the inside is they're still struggling and it comes out. So are you able to spot a covert narcissist? Are you able to know before you get into a relationship? I'm going to tell you a story about a friend of mine who would collect stamps. And when he'd been collecting stamps across the world, he would test them out. He would give them opportunities to show how they really worked. He'd give them maybe a little bit of a challenge and see how the person overcome. Were they on time? Was the price reasonable? Did they follow through? Did they keep their word? He would test people, not in a malignant way, but a way to see, like, who are you? What's really going on? For many people in narcissist relationships, it takes them by surprise to off your feet by someone who's charming and interesting and paying attention to you. And that's a lot of times the covert narcissist. You get distracted by all of the attention that they give. The flip side is a personality that's deeply troubled, that's struggling with many different issues which are not obvious on the surface. They've gotten very good at keeping those two parts separate, compartmentalizing them, and they come out in a Jekyll and Hyde sort of way. In fact, that's what you hear a lot when women are in relationships with narcissists, where they can be wonderful and charming, and then the flip side is that they're abusive and unkind, very unkind, and explosive, and traumatizing. So how do you avoid this? How does your intuition come in with the covert narcissist? Your intuition is not only based on your past experiences, they're also based on current experiences, on new things that you're going to learn. So your brain connected to your heart, connected to your gut. They talk to each other. They all have brain cells. And when they talk to each other, you can see this stuff. You ask questions. You stand in your power. You're grounded. And you're able to check people out before you end up in a relationship with them. Instead of thinking, well, I don't know, and there's no way to find out, but I'm strong enough to handle it, or maybe I'm not, so I don't want a relationship ever again. Instead of going in that fear-based route, when you start connecting your head and your heart and your gut, you stay out of the fear. You stay out of your amygdala. You stay out of the fight or flight. And you're able to use your intuition and not just survival instinct. That is what a narcissist likes to get us into. If they get us into survival instinct, we're much easier to manage or control because they understand that. It gives them permission to be even more unkind or to push back hard or punish or create more chaos. So when you're in fight or flight, it actually feeds the flames. But when you stay out of fight or flight, you're able to feel the situation. You're able to see clearer. You're able to see the answers. You're able to see what's, you pause You see what you're getting into. You try out different things. How do they handle conflict? How do they handle when you say no? How do they handle it when you set a boundary? How do they handle it when you're upset, when you're not doing well? All of these are situations that you can kind of test out with people, just like with the stamps. Having somebody different who has a different mind map than you do, a different mental model of the world than you do. You can't assume you're on the same page. Many people get into relationships because they assume the other person and them are on the same page. They're projecting onto the situation what they want. When in reality, we have to take a step back and realize that every person we interact with on some level is a stranger in a strange land. They've got their own worldview, their own set of rules and ideas about what's right, kind, or to not be present and kind. Their brains are different, their thought patterns are different. We are not all the same. When you walk into a relationship realizing that you're discovering who someone is, and this is a journey of discovery, when you do that, you can work it out. When you don't do that, you end up in relationships for decades wondering what you did wrong and how you screwed it up, and so angry and trying. Realize that they are different from you. They are looking for something differently than what you're looking for. And until you find out what's underneath the surface, you're going to end up snagged and bamboozled and uh, in a relationship with a covert narcissist. So if you know women who are struggling with emotional abuse, share these videos with them. If you are struggling with emotional abuse, especially if you're a successful woman who has achieved things in her life, she's smart, she's funny, she's a leader, those are the women that end up really benefiting from working with me. Women who've done it all, therapy and tapping and whatever it may be, meditation, 12-step programs, they've done it all. And this is the last piece that you're missing. It's the piece of connecting your body again, reconnecting with your body, reconnecting with your intuition, and getting rid of the trauma that still controls you, all those hot buttons. There are physical ways to get rid of that stuff so that you can stay grounded. So share these and reach out, because within months, within weeks, you can be making big, big changes in how you think and how you interact and the world that you live in. Absolutely. Okay. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm looking forward to mine. And I'll see you tomorrow morning. Okay. Bye.